Hello and welcome to Matchup Meta. Today we're going over Green Arrow matchup. This is a matchup that I hate. It's annoying, however it is not nearly as bad of a matchup as I thought it was previously. Now, first things first, obviously. Ready, start, go. What should you do? Really, you shouldn't be doing anything against Green Arrow. He has a lot of options against you in the opening. For example, he can just kind of... Shit. He can do... Savage Blast, like, right away. And your forward 2 will trade with him. Unless you were, like, fucking on point. If you are confident that you're going to be able to stuff him, and then go for it. However, that doesn't answer him starting with down 2, which for some reason Green Arrow players love to do. Doesn't answer a jump, I don't think. Yeah, it doesn't answer. You get blown up if he jumps. So really what you should be doing is you should just be sitting back, waiting. If he does a Savage Blast, he's obviously going to be away from you. However, Green Arrow players like to do 2 Savage Blasts in a row because why not? Like, why wouldn't you? So you want to check any consecutive Savage Blasts, and this goes for in the neutral as well, or full screen. You want to check consecutive Savage Blasts with this. Make sure you make him a little more wary about doing Savage Blasts. Another thing that you can check him with is the log. That's a fairly good thing to check him with if he continuously does Savage Blast. Now, moving on to the idea of like the zoning, because that's definitely like the hardest part, is obviously you're going to be checking Savage Blast in the neutral, but another thing is, another thing is the fact that you have full screen frame traps against Green Arrow, and by that I mean, we'll go full screen here, we'll record. Not random attack. Always, you can throw a log followed by another log, and if he tries to do anything, basically, if you do arrow, it'll either trade, or if you are like closer, it will actually just completely stuff him. He can't Savage Blast either. Basically, he has to jump or block the log. If he jumps back, he'll get tagged by the log as well. Another good way to check him full screen after he blocks a very active log is with down back 3. This will catch Savage Blast, it will catch him jumping back, it'll catch a late jump, it'll catch him pressing anything that doesn't low profile. The reason why I like checking with log is because, you know, the low arrow is a low profiling move. Or rather, low profiling move. However, if he jumps forward and he's close enough, he can smack you in the face for doing log, so be careful about that. Make sure you space it correctly. Make sure that he can't jump in on you. Now that's basically it for the neutral, or at least as far as the full screen zoning game. Just get in on him and make sure you don't get off of him, and we'll go into that afterwards. But after this is very good for you because he can only down 1 or Savage Blast. Those are his only 2 options. If he tries to check you with a mid, the mids are too slow, and standing 2 whiffs. As you can see, it goes right over Swamp Thing's head, which means that you have basically Atrocitus Breath mix-ups there, where he has to either Savage Blast or down 1 check you. And, you know, it's a lot more in his favor because he can just kind of, you know, Savage Blast and be out. But it's the concept that basically he has to play defensive there. He can't really play offensive there. He doesn't get his turn back unless he does 2 very specific things, which is very important for our pressure, because if you poke him a couple times, he's like, oh, I guess I don't have any options after that, and he doesn't think to Savage Blast, you start getting pressure after that. You know, or if he's a Green Arrow who for some reason doesn't want to use Savage Blast, I don't know. But that's essentially why that's so good, because it creates the mindset, this is not my turn, I need to play defensive rather than offensive. which is really good. Now another thing is the wake up game. We'll put him on auto. It's something that Green Arrows love to do, and I am shocked to this day how often they love to wake up, but they do. They love their wake ups. And so after Hurricane Bow, you know, you can stuff it with, it's a little tricky. You can also walk back and whiff punish, like if you just walk back. You can whiff punish it, however that sets up for weird situations when it does slide. So, you know, if you walk forward a little bit, you can stuff it. Another way to stuff it is to jump. Is to do a neutral jump 3. Like, you know, you walk up a little bit and then you jump. Ugh. Or maybe it's not a walk up. There are like so many different scenarios. Yeah, so you just neutral jump and you jump 3 and that'll stuff it. But you can't stuff it with a normal. See? Like so. So get your stuffing timings down. You can do the same thing with Stinger. It's actually a lot easier to stuff. You just, I say that and then I don't stuff it. Ah. You know, see the slide come out. There you go. See, it's a little easier to stuff because the invincibility frames aren't as plentiful. And there's a bigger gap between the invincibility and the active. And for Savage Blast isn't a real wake up, but the problem is that it moves you back. So if you meaty with, if you meaty on time, like right as he gets up, you'll stuff Savage Blast. So yeah, after, oh, and any and all wake ups, after you hit one of these, will be stuffed by log, which is important because some Green Arrows love to wake up at that range. Bam. Some Green Arrows are like, oh shit, he's gonna do some Oki on me. I better Savage Blast away. That'll stuff it. And as far as the corner is concerned, you actually have some more options after you do that. So basically, if you do that, like if you do a delayed meter burn down back 2, you will stuff all of his options. Make sure you end in command grab 3. That stuffs Hurricane Bow. And it'll stuff Stinger. For Stinger, you have to do it earlier. Yeah. So it's still a little bit of a read on your part, but if you read correctly, you know, you pick up on their habits and whatnot, it'll make it a lot easier. Next, this is actually a good time to talk about the Garden meta, as far as, you know, this thing. You know that you get armor off of down back 2 and standing 3 if you have the Garden now, and obviously, this is going to stuff if you do it correctly. I need to do the actual setup block. See, that'll so you get the same timing instead of having different timing, which is good for you because you get which is good for you because you get to, you know, OS all their wake ups by having this Garden out. And it'll and then you can also do standing 3. It works the same way. Now, if we go mid-screen and we have him do, oh, I don't know. Have him do reversal Hurricane Bow, right? Actually, no, wait. What we need to do is we need to put him under court. Well, actually, 1, 2, 3. So if you have Garden out and he decides to do a Hurricane Bow and block, you blow him up for free. Same thing with standing 3. And the big part, like a really important part, 1, 2, 3, is that you blow up the gap in Stinger with both You can blow it up with standing. There you go. With both options. So it makes them a little more weary. Granted, having the garden out in general makes them a little more weary. But, you know, if you have, let's say, a knockdown situation and you think they're going to wake up, but, like, you block it, like, you don't have enough time to start up your armor. And you're like, oh, shit, let me block. You block it, and then you blow them up. So it's quite a good thing to be able to know. And lastly, Green Arrow is a pretty simple character. You know, other than the things that I've shown you, you just play the matchup, you know, you play patient and whatnot. But one last thing that is kind of important, because if you look at high-level Green Arrow players, they love Stinger. Meter Burn Stinger is like one of the best moves in the game. And so when they do it, you know, they like to do Savage Blast. However, if you do a reversal down back 3, you'll blow up Savage Blast. Now you're probably wondering, why would I do a 30 frame move on reversal when he's plus? Well, the pushback on this makes it so that everything whiffs. Everything that he could do whiffs. Which means they'll get tagged, but this will whiff punish them and you're plus 15. And then they have to guess. Now, what the Green Arrow player can do is slide again. But if they slide again, you can blow them up with a forward 2, with a standing, well, not a standing, back 2. You're better off with just forward 2. And if you want to decide to just block, and they're like, oh man, I know, I'll jump, right? You can react with Nanny. So it's in your favor. Obviously, like, you're gonna have to enforce this, because the general thing, and also that'll blow up dash up too, if I remember correctly. You like dash up into thing. Yeah. So if he does dash up into button, yeah, and he can't whiff punish you unless he does a dash up. So like he has to do that, and then that's another thing that gets blown up by forward 2. So basically, the guessing is in your favor. Yeah, the guessing is in your favor, and then he'll start being like, oh, you know, I'll slide or I'll dash up, and then you'll start blowing him up for that. Other than that, there's not really much else. Let me see here. Slide. We got the slide meta. We got the garden. Oki. Yep, we got back forward 3. Yep, that's about it. Please do leave a like if you enjoyed this, and subscribe, because, well, if you want more matchup meta videos, that'd be very much appreciated, and it'll help you out in your gameplay, hopefully. I hope this helps. And remember, buff Swamp Thing.